Welcome everyone to the Chat Black, where we chat about all things Black. And I am your host, Shawn Whitsell. And today we have a special guest. We have poet, writer, novelist, etc., Mr. D Revolution. D Rev, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for the interview. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
man.
Good to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate having you. I'm ready to dig into your life a little bit and to your book that you have that's out. But let's go back. Tell us, because I know I have viewers who are familiar with you, but for those who may not be, who is D Revolution?
In a nutshell, D Rebel is a very complex person. I have lived several different lives in one. I've been this guy, that guy, and this guy over here, just many different personalities, but in the core of me, I'm a writer. That's who I am. So that's what I try to live by at this point. I'm tired of. I know people tired of me saying I'm from Chicago. But I am from Chicago, born and raised, and I've just pretty much changed my life when I moved here to Nashville.
And so how long have you been in Nashville?
I came here in '96. Been here a minute.
Yeah. So you say people might be tired of you mentioning you're from Chicago, but that's a part of who you are. That's a part of your past, your history, your foundation. So I want to know
Absolutely.
How did Chicago impact the artist that you became, the writer you became?
Well, because of how I grew up and so many things that I was around, it makes it easier for me to write things because I sing so much. So it gives me a lot of writing material to write things and to say things. One of my best assets is being able to write what I really feel and not really be bothered what people think. And I think that's actually that's a strong point in my writing is to just write and not care. And I think that comes from being from Chicago, and it really makes me, a good writer.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Yeah. It seems like having the ability to not care about what others may think allows the characters and allow the things that you write about to be more honest, more truthful, and more real. So I think that's definitely an asset.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoy every bit of it. But I want to say this one thing before we move on. I want to thank you for offering me to be a part of the Jefferson Street Project, man. I appreciate you reaching out to me for that, man. I need to say that before I forget.
No doubt, you were the first person that I thought of when that came up. So I'm super glad that that worked out. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of that.
Yeah. Man, if you hear what I recorded in the studio a couple of weeks ago, man, like it's been so while since I've done a little bit of spoken word, so I'm rusty and I'm a little embarrassed about what I recorded, but I'm going back in the studio to re-record my piece. But definitely thank you for that. I know that I haven't seen you in a minute, but we've been knowing each other for a long time. So, I'm always you've always extended a hand to me, whether you was like come sell incense at my show or just that.
No doubt.
But I needed that little money back then. So I appreciate you, Shawn, for real.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you. So what led you to Nashville from Chicago? I'm always interested in how people got here.
I got here because one of the main reasons why I moved here was because I wanted to get off the streets. I wanted to get a job, and I couldn't find a job in Chicago. And then my mother had just passed away, and I had to make a change. The city had took my car. They towed my car, so I was just really about to start all over again. And when you have to start over again in the city like Chicago, it's not easy. So my brother was living here. He was going to TSU down here. So I came down here to hang out with him and to see if I can get some work while I was down here. And I came down here and I did get some work. And then I got offered another job that when I went back to Chicago, packed my stuff and came back, and I've been here ever since. I realized things was just much easier in Nashville. A struggle in Chicago is not the same as the struggle in Nashville. It's really not. Even when you're struggling here, you're still doing pretty decent compared to up in Chicago. So. Mm-hmm.
So you talk about your struggle in Chicago, but you came to Nashville and made quite a name for yourself on the spoken word scene. Tell me what that experience was like. Were you D-Revolution before you got here, or was that something that happened while you were in Nashville?
No, that was something that happened in Nashville because I was such a the reason why it was so easy here because this was a smaller town, so I was able to be a little bit more aggressive here and and kind of move and shake some things. I can't necessarily say had I not moved to Nashville that I would be or would have become the revolution. I would still be on the streets, probably in prison or even dead. I think what Nashville gave me the opportunity to sit down and think about my life. And as I started to think about my life, I started to write about it. And then thing led to another, and here I am today, writing books. So, it's been a great thing for me. It's been, I really do love Nashville, when before, I could not fully embrace it, because I'm Chicago to my heart, but, because I moved down here as a grown man, but Nashville has been so good to me and so good to my art that I'm glad it was a move definitely that needed to be made.
Yeah, tell me about the name D-Revolution. Where did that come from?
Uh, man, that actually came from a poetry set. Man, I don't even know if I can say it on this interview. I cracked a joke about somebody in my family having a interracial relationship, and when I was on the mic, I said, "You can call me Revolution." You know what I'm saying? Now I told because people were calling me D at 1st,
Mhm.
and then when I was on the mic, I said, "Well, my last name is Revolution," and it stuck from there. Everybody started calling me D Revolution or D Rev for short. So it kind of happened really by accident. It wasn't something that I woke up one morning and said, "Oh, I'm gonna call myself D Revolution." It stuck from that joke, and I've been D Rev or D Revolution ever since.
Mhm. And you weren't just a poet on the scene. You were definitely like you were like you said, a mover and a shaker. You were creating shows. You were putting together shows. Like we couldn't talk about the Nashville poetry scene or Nashville spoken word scene without mentioning your name. Like you were a huge part of what was happening here in Nashville at that particular time. Talk about your experience being a part of the scene and being one of those movers and shakers.
Well, my desire, the reason why I was such a mover and shaker, and still trying to be a mover and shaker with everything that I do, my desire to become something in life was really strong. And if I had to do poetry shows, anything to take me away from the life I had in Chicago and how I was living, because now I'm becoming a little bit more conscious and I'm seeing things a little bit more clear. And, I was always the guy that people always picked over in Chicago. I was always the guy that broke the window playing baseball. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to put myself in the position to always be chosen when I was doing things here in Nashville as far as the poetry and the movies. And I wanted to make it where you had to mess with me. Nobody could count me out. Nobody could not mention me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I put it in overdrive to make sure that you had to mention D Rev. And I wanted to bring other people along with me. And I really, but the foundation of the desire was to be something in life. You know what I'm saying? Just to say I've done something, to carve out my own little space.
Mhm.
That's really what it was about. And it still is to a degree.
Mhm. So you took that the writing, the spoken word, and you transitioned into writing books. What made you want to go into writing books?
Well, the backdrop to that story is this. I started off writing screenplays. That's where I started. Um, I went from screenplays when I started writing screenplays while I was still in Chicago. I went from writing screenplays to writing poetry. The writing the books is really just kind of take me back to storytelling, what I originally loved. I originally went to film school while I was in Chicago, and I was, what I wanted to do was make film. I just didn't have the resources or the support to do that. but I didn't need the support or the resource to write a script, to write a screenplay. So I started writing screenplays, and then I started writing poetry when I got here, and the poetry really took off, performing, and it really took off. But now that I've done the spoken word for 20 years, I got to keep it fresh. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to write a book about my life, and once I wrote the first book that I believe you got, the first book, just I got bit by the bug. I was like, I want to write books now because I have a ton of stories I want to write about. And I realized if I write a screenplay, it's just going to sit here on my shelf. But if I write a book, I can get that book into people's hands. I've written several screenplays that only a few people have read because, people don't sell screenplays. But I can write a book and sell a book and let people read it who read books. So, after I wrote the first book, I really was like, okay, this is what I need to be doing.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the first book before we dive into the second one.
The first book is about a man who went from the street corners, went from a lot of ignorant way of living to moving to a new city in a town, who wanted to do something more. That's me. I always wanted to do something more, even when I was on the street corners, but I didn't know what it was. But something was constantly nagging at me all the time that I was supposed to be doing something more. And I felt it all the time, and I would actually get depressed about it at times. So I just felt like, my life was wasting because I was just doing nothing, getting up, standing on the corner, doing this, doing that. And my mind, my brain just really was so much bigger than the street corner. So I just really felt like I was wasting my time. And so the book really talks about just the inspiration or the desire to want to be something more. And that's what the book is about. It's a really inspirational book, but it gives you a true life of life in Chicago and some in Nashville, and the mentality of somebody who was living by his environment but wanted more. And I'm sure a lot of young Black men, a lot of people, well, anybody can relate to it, not just Black people, but anybody can relate to wanting more out of life.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, tell us the name of that book in case people want to get that one too.
One Chance to Be a Man.
Yeah.
It's the book with the boy on the cover holding the Schlitz beer can. Everybody love that cover, man.
Yeah, no doubt. I got that on my bookshelf right now.
Yeah, man. I appreciate the support, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, so let's talk about your current novel, Half Empty, Half Full. Tell me about these characters. Tell me what inspired this story.
What inspired this story was a dream that I had, maybe 15, 16 years ago. And this is a dream that stayed with me. And so when I decided that after I finished the first book, One Chance to Be a Man, I was like, okay, what am I going to write next? And then I thought about the dream. I said, okay, that's what I'm going to write next. It kind of hit me dead in the chest, like that's what you need to write next. So that's where it came from. That is where those characters, the characters, not all those characters in my dream. It was just a main part of the book that was in my dream. And I just kind of build a story around that particular part.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about the story.
The story is about a couple, Niven and Stacy, who has 2 kids, and they are trying to get married, but Niven pretty much has his issues that he has to deal with, and he's trying to do many things so much better, but he makes a lot of decisions out of fear. And with this decision making, he puts his 2 daughters with Stacy in jeopardy. He puts everybody in jeopardy because he's making rash and quick decisions. But Stacy really try to keep him on the straight and narrow, the straight road, the straight path to think about the stuff that he's doing. And as he starts to try to get his stuff together, it's one decision that he has to make. He has to make it. And that one particular decision can really destroy everything. And then the book takes a turn where readers don't see from there. And I can't tell you that without giving away the book. So he goes to make this one initial decision that's gonna risk everything, his daughters, himself, everything. But then the story takes a turn from there. It's a very complex story. And I tell people if you're not reading it and really zoned in on it, it'll lose you. You'll find yourself at the end like, what does this mean? You have to really read the book. It's a very complex story, but it's probably one of the more complex stories I've ever written. It's a lot of little things that you have to pay attention to, but it was fun to write at the same time.
Yeah. I liked it because the beginning, the stakes are high at the very beginning. Like you see the conflict within the relationship. You see some of the circumstances. I mean, of course, it's not all revealed, but you know that something major is coming. So tell me what made you write this particular story? Why'd you feel like this particular story was right at this time?
Well, from a dream that I had several years ago, the message was strong and it stuck with me many, many years. And after I wrote my first book, I had to decide on what I was going to write next. And then that crossed my mind. I was like, oh, I'm gonna write this story next. Uh the the uh the the story is a very strong story and it has a purpose behind it and it has a strong message in it. But the only thing, the message don't smack you in the face, but the message is absolutely there. If you're there to pick it up, you know what I'm saying? If it's meant for you, you will see it, you will feel it. But if not, it's still going to be an entertaining story. And I try to write with a purpose. So that's why I wrote this story. Actually, this story became something else. I put the part in there, the part in there where what I had to dream about, but the message turned out to be something different. So now I know why that dream was sent to me, because of the message in the story.
Mm-hmm. I've always known you to be a writer. You have this power in your writing and also in your performance, but you're also very vulnerable and very transparent. So, and
I know.
you talked about the spiritual slant on your writing as well. So, the word purpose is something that I keep hearing you say. Tell me what you think. What is your purpose here on Earth?
Uh, well, to answer the first part of that question, I would like to address. I'm so misunderstood, Shawn. I've been so misunderstood. I mean, my personality is what it is, but so many people misunderstand me. Nobody, not people really know I went to Catholic school growing up, or that I may meditate every day or something like that. Um, so so yeah, man. A lot of people don't know that I do try to touch on the spiritual aspect of things the older I get. But the reason why I push purpose is because I look at my own life. I look at where I was and to where I am now. I'm not sitting over here rich or nothing, but just the fact um that I've built somewhat of a legacy and I've been the mover and shaking the city. I don't have the same mind that I had when I left Chicago. I'm a totally different guy. I'm a grown man now. And when I say I'm a grown man, I mean mentally, because when I moved here, I was a man, but my mind was still on the corners and, really ignorant and stuff like that. So I think when you seek out purpose, I try to lead by example. I think when you seek out purpose, that the purpose finds you, and I think all the things I went through in Chicago, I had to go through those things to be the writer and the poet that I am today.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Dope, dope. So let's talk about what's next for you. You have this book out. What is the next thing that you're going to be working on, or you might be already working on it?
Yeah, the Jackson Street Project is definitely one of them. I I was very honored to be a part of that. I really am, and I'm not just saying. I'm really honored to be a part of that. And then I'm actually going to start on my third book next month. So my third book is going to probably be my biggest challenge. But I got to do a little research on it, and I'm gonna just start because what I want to do is be more consistent. I need people to know that okay, this is what I'm about to do. Same way I attack poetry, it's the same way I'm about to write these books. I'm about to, I want to be more consistent at releasing material, and I want to be more consistent in writing and getting out books so I can really gain readers. So I'm gonna start on my third book next month, and hopefully, and that'll be out next year.
Dope, dope. Not only are you a writer, but you're an entrepreneur. You self-publish your books, you always I've always known you to be an entrepreneur, whether you're selling T-shirts or incense, etc. So tell us where we can find this book. Where can people order it, and any other things that you have that people could purchase?
The name of the publishing company I use is Soul Conscious Books. It's the publishing. That's my daughter. It's named after her, Soul Conscious Books. But you can purchase the book at Black Books for Us at blackbooksforus.com. Blackbooksforus.com. I was about to give you my email address. But blackbooksforus.com is where you can get any of my books, The One Chance to Be a Man or Half Empty, Half Full, and soon to be some more books on that. Because what I'm trying to do is bring other artists in on that website. We can all promote one website instead of authors promoting. You got a website, I got a website, he got a website, and then the readers, they don't know where to go because they got 10 different websites. I'm trying to bring other authors in onto the website so they can go to Black Books for Us and pick out the book that they want.
Nice.
That's what I would like to do. Because we need to gel together and be a bigger force in terms of being, Black authors and really getting the public, the readers who wants to read Black stories to one website and not to 20, 25 different websites. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of readers out there watching this interview right now that's probably gonna be like, man, I hope so, because they get tired of just going everywhere to look for, a book here and there. And then you go to Amazon, you got to put the title in exactly the way it is. If you mess up one letter, the book don't come out. Just go to Black Books for Us and pick you out a book. And so that's aside from me writing. I'm trying to build that website as well to bring more authors on and to really build a empire in terms of Black stories, Black books, and have everybody come to that one website. Instead of making Amazon, man, the richest man in the world. We need to carry our own, so.
Dope. Yeah, man. I think that is an excellent idea. Before we go, shout out social medias or anything else you want to share. If you want to share any social media sites.
The only thing I want to share is blackbooksforus.com. I'm not really great with all the social media stuff. I have Instagram, I have Facebook, but I don't know my correct Instagram. I just push the little button on my phone, and those things I need to get better with those things. So I'm not going to give out any of my social information because I don't want to give out the wrong information. But my name is D Revolution. You can find me on Facebook under my name. It should pop right up. And Black Books for Us is where you buy the book. And before we go, man, I want to give, you from Kentucky, ain't you,
yep.
John?
Mm-hmm.
I got a friend that really helped me through the last stretch of my new book that just came out. She's actually from Kentucky, and I just want to give her a shout out, Angel. I want to give her a shout out and say, thank you for getting me through the last stretch of the book. And really, because, the hard part when you write a book, I'm sorry, am I going over my time?
No, you're good, man.
The hard part, the thing about writing a book is, first, the hard part is actually sitting down and writing it. But the next hardest part is you got to edit it, and then behind that you got to edit it, and then you got to format it, and then you got to get it out there. And so, I had an encouraging friend, towards, because when you get to the end, you got to do all that. You start to get a little, tired, after writing it, and then format, and you feel like you edited it really well, and then you still be finding stuff. Like even with the book now, I was seeing a couple of things, nothing major. I've just seen a couple of things that I need to get corrected. You know what I'm saying? And that's after major editing of the book. So shout out to Angel for really being a confidant and a friend during that time. So I just
No doubt. Shout out to Angel. I want to ask you this one last question before we go. How long did it take you to write the book?
Man, I'm ashamed to say it, man. It took me over a year to write it. But again, not because it takes that long to write a book. It's really about getting your behind up and writing every day, which I didn't do. I would go weeks without writing a thing. And after you do that so many times, time stretches out and stretches out and stretches out. But once I zoned in on it, I couldn't stop writing, and that pretty much happened with every project that I do. I started, get away from it, and then, as I start to really zone in on it and really start writing it, I can't stop. I look forward to getting up and writing it. But one more shout out. I want to give a shout out to Ron Wynn for this article he did on me behind me. Definitely shout out to him for doing a write-up on me and my book. I appreciate it. Definitely don't want to forget to do that. So I appreciate this platform too, Shawn. Some great questions, man. You got any more?
I'm good, man. But I would say don't be ashamed of that year, man, because you take that year to get it right. Sometimes people take way more than a year to write a book. Sometimes people take 2 or 3. So, but kudos to you, man.
Huh?
I said kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. And I do, let me say, that's a good point you just made. Let me say this. I'm when you're writing the story, I'm not gonna cut corners. So however long it takes, But I just know it would have been done sooner had I been more disciplined. But I'm not gonna cut corners. I'm gonna make sure you got a full story that matches up in the beginning, middle, and end. If it takes 2 years and so well, because I want the story to be good. Because when this, everything comes to an end. So eventually you're going to get to the end of that book, but I just need to be more disciplined to sit down and write and make it a schedule every day to sit down and do that, and I think that's something that's been kind of a rough thing for me, is to actually get my butt up and write. And because I probably have, way more projects if I was disciplined. So, yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for your time. I thoroughly enjoyed the interview. We'll get you back on sometime soon, whenever, when the next project comes out. But wishing you the best. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Peace.